Yeah, you're rocking with me, the one and only DJ J Erica. It's the DJ J Erica podcast, and today we have a legend up in the building, ladies and gentlemen. We have a legendary DJ, a producer, a creator. I can't even go through the entire levels of how amazing this man is, who is on our line right now. We're talking about TV host royalty, radio royalty, Hot 97 host, MTV Raps host. I mean, he discovered talents like Public Enemy. He's like the backbone of Def Jam. He's like that hidden legend, and he's on the line. We are on the line with Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for the blessing. Thank you for the love. And I'm just honored to be here with you. I appreciate it.
All right. And I did some research on you. Okay. And I know it's like, they'd be like, it's two Dr. Dre's, this, and this, but you were like the first original Dr. Dre. And from my research on you, it said that you actually got your nickname, or you created your nickname because you actually was a fan of the NBA player Julius Erving. Is that correct?
Not just a fan of the ABA incredible player, the one and only legendary Dr. J. I was a New York Net ball boy because I grew up on Long Island, and they used to play at the Nassau Veterans Coliseum in Uniondale. So I used to go to all the games, and I used to be probably one of the loudest people screaming and hollering. And it was my godmother who actually, we used to always go to the games, and I used to always sneak down to the floor. And I used to do it so often. They said, you might as well give him a jacket and let him be a ball boy. So I emulated his style of playing basketball at 4'10", and he was 6'6", and I just enjoyed the way he played basketball. So as I grew up, I just went from being Dr. J and called myself Dr. Dre. That's because when people ask me, I got it from music. I said, no, I got it from sports and playing basketball. So that name stuck with me for a long time. And, when you start DJing, and you may know this, and you're trying to find a name that works, I went through a whole plethora of crazy names. I was, first thing you do is you use your last name. So I was DJ Brown for a while. And I said, that ain't working because that ain't getting around. And I ain't getting no jobs in town. So DJ Brown out the window. Then I came up with crazy names like Phantom, DJ Phantom, or DJ Excelsior, or DJ Super this. And one dude, my partner, T Money, said, dude, why don't you just use Dr. Dre? I said, why? No, that's for football, man. That's for this. No, it works. Just use Dr. Dre. Henceforth, that's when I started using Dr. Dre.
And that's right there is history. Now, of course, you got your name. How did you get started on like this music as a DJ? Like, how did that start?
Well, I give the most credit to my brother Fred, and my cousin Kevin, who my cousin Kevin was what you would call a mechanical genius. And when I was young, and we go to this house for the barbecues in Lakeview with my cousin Cindy and my aunt Eleanor and my uncle Sonny, my cousin Kevin had about 18 turntables running at the same time. Because at the barbecue, you got to keep the music going. But he had switches on the wall. So he went from James Brown Payback to Earth, Wind, and Fire, Shining Star, to Parliament Funkadelic, Flashlight, and I mean on and on and on. I was just fascinated. And I'm talking about, it was like an endless stream of music. And he had all the turntables working. I said, Kevin, got to get a turntable? No, get your own. If you get your own, I'll show you how to fix it. But how did he plug it up and wire it to speakers? And this was all before you had a DJ mixer. He was doing this in the mid-'70s. And I mean, he would have stacks of 45s. The way they used to do it, you stack all the 45s on the spindle, and then you let it run down. But that was too boring for Kevin. So I was always fascinated by that. And then one year I went out there, and they had a band on the stage and a DJ. And I was watching, and the band got down, and we were all excited. And then they went to the DJ. And what got me going is the DJ was DJing, playing records. And the first record he was playing is a group by the name called Slave. And he was playing Slide. And it was killing. We were like, yo, slide, boom, 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 boom. Slide, yo, baby, baby. But then the thing that got me is the women went up to him and were whispering in his ear. And he always had this look on his face like, get out of here, I'm playing records. I got you. So he was taking the requests, but they were annoying him. And I said, I got to do that. Look, all the women are going to the DJ. That's what I want to do. So from there, My brother went to college, and I went to go visit him one time up at AIC in Springfield, Massachusetts, and he was a DJ on the radio. And my brother had a big record collection too. And I was like, yo, Fred. And his name was Fred Hollywood Brown. And I was like, yo, Fred, I gotta do this too. Cause I heard the calls and the women calling up and he was being smooth on the radio. I said, I gotta DJ. I don't care what I gotta do. I gotta find a way to get some records and start DJing because I want to be around the young ladies.
I like that. I like that story. And so from there, you started to build a name for yourself. And I was in like the Long Island area, New York area. You started
Yes,
to build up.
I grew up in Newcastle, Westbury. Westbury is where we went to school, but Newcastle's kind of like the towns are all one, but Newcastle didn't have a zip code. We were really called a hamlet. So everybody from West, let me keep it simple. Newcastle, that's where the brothers came from, and everybody else. Westbury, the white folks, that's where they live. So we used to walk through the area. We used to call it the river. We used to cross across this great big street and be in Westbury to go to school to our junior high and our high school. But then we had our own local schools in Newcastle too. So I started DJing after that. My cousin Warren, he was like a senior in high school. And at that time I was a sophomore. I was a sophomore. And he was like, yeah, man, we should DJ. And he was a part of the biggest DJ group at the time, a guy named Donovan, who was West Indian. He used to DJ in all the community centers. The first was called the Dr. Martin Luther King Youth Center. Everybody had one of those. And then it was changed over to the Missouri Youth Center. So we called it the KYC. And I used to watch him, and watch all the girls, all him and Donovan, and they were killing it. So whatever happened between them, they broke up. So I finally got some money together because I used to be a Newsday delivery boy, delivered newspapers, and I had a huge paper route. So I saved some money up and I bought some turntables. Well, in fact, my father allowed me to buy some turntables, and I bought a mixer. And I had no records, but I had turntables and a mixer. So I was always like bothered stealing my brother's records. Yes, I can say that, and borrowing them and then using them, and then he come on, yo, leave my records alone. No, I'm not doing do that. But yeah, I guess I got started, and he showed me the ropes how to DJ. And another gentleman who I used to be played basketball with and was the manager of our senior basketball team, Stanley Bunn. He taught me about the slip mats and how to DJ and backtrack and do all these different things. So I got my DJ acumen from many different folks. But I remember when I was much younger, I used to. My father taught me how to ride the subway trains when I was younger. So I used to sneak up into the Bronx, and I got a chance to see Grandmaster Flash DJ. I got a chance to see Cool Herc DJ, and I got a chance. Matter of fact, I got caught by my aunt one time, standing in the park, standing up there going, "Oh, what's going on?" And she walked up and put her hand on me and said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "What? I'm not." And I took off running. By the time I got home, and she called my mother said, "Where were you?" "Oh, I was over so and so's house." "No, you weren't. No, you weren't. Aunt Effie saw you. She even touched you and you ran because she knows exactly what you were wearing." So, yeah, it's the music got me at a young age. I was always, I was a dancer, but I love playing music and I love being around the music and I love learning about all the artists. I mean, at one point in my life, I used to hate James Brown because we played so much of James Brown. I used to know every James Brown song by heart. So one of my favorites was always the Big Payback and Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. And, um, I was, because they always had James Brown 45s. And I was always impressed with James Brown because he always had his face on the 45. And I said, how do you put his picture on the 45?
Yeah, James Brown is a legend, the godfather of soul, like.
Hey, I can't even countlessly talk about the Motown um, selection of artists, you know, Diana Ross and the Supremes, Temptations, Smokey Robinson, the Commodores, Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye. I mean, the list goes on. Martha and the Vandellas, you name it. I was always fascinated with all those. And then the Stax collection with Isaac Hayes and company. You know, when you talk about music, my family had such a plethora of music. I wish I could go back and just grab all their records and keep them. I got some, but I lost all my stuff in a fire. But that's another story.
Wow, wow. Sorry to hear that, man. That's a lot of history right there. You
Yeah,
lost
it's
fire.
difficult. It's difficult to play records that are melted.
Yeah, very true. And then of course, as you grown up, you went on to college, and it was a Delphi College. Is that correct?
Adelphi,
A
Adelphi.
Delphi.
But
Okay.
I went to Nassau Community College first, and all of this is in my book, Yo Bigger Stuff, the Dr. Dre episodes from 1983 to 1995, and it discusses that. I went to Nassau Community College first because my father passed away when I was in high school, after I graduated high school. So I used to be a big football player at the time on our team. Not wasn't great, but I was good enough. And I honestly was going to be moving to Los Angeles because I wanted to play for the University of Southern California. So I wanted to do a walk-on tryout. But my father was passing away, and I decided to stay home. So I went and signed up to go to Nassau Community College, which is like one of the best community colleges in the country. And I ended up just studying more than ever. And I got on the dean's list. And when I got on the dean's list, I was dating a young lady who I did her party for her for my cousin Mark, and I saw, and I was just enamored by her once again, that DJing and the ladies. So eventually I went out with her, and I ended up taking her to our high school prom, and we dated for a while, and she got a scholarship to go to Adelphi University. So unfortunately, before Belle Biv DeVoe could say it, I fell for the big button to smile. I had a scholarship to Cornell University, Ivy League school. And my professor was like, yeah, go. Why aren't you going to go? I said, oh, well, I want to stay home near my mom. Oh, Dre, you need to go up there. You need to go. And I said, well, no, just something that just luring me here. And it was the big button to smile. And to this day, I still love her for that, because if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have met the people I did. And guess that was my destiny.
Wow. And it was at that college where you started to do radio work with WBAU.
90.3 FM, WBAU, we're bad and you know it.
So tell me, how did that come about? Starting at that station, the college.
Well, it's in the book, but the story basically is I was in a black music class, one, with the late great Dr. Andre Strobert, our professor. And in that class, I met these other three gentlemen there. And at that time, I used to walk around wearing like a sweater V-neck and a tie, and I wear shoes because I was really trying to be impressive to my professor and my classmates. And there was a gentleman by the name of Harold McGregor, aka Harry Allen, hip hop media assassin for the group Public Enemy. There was another gentleman by the name of Mr. William Bill Stephanie, Mr. Bill, who became a um, vice president, and actually was president of Def Jam at one time. And I talked Bill into doing that too at that time. And there was this other gentleman. His name was Carlton Ridenauer, aka Chucky D, aka Chuck D from Public Enemy, and we were all in this one class together.
Wow.
And in discussing music, the origins of music from the African continent, many different nations, and the sound of the drum, and where these things grew, and our different Caribbean roots. And eventually, um, Bill and Chuck invited me to lunch. And when you're in college and you go to lunch, that means we all throw money on the table. We figure out who has money enough to buy one thing that we could all share.
Right.
So uh, they asked me, "Hey man, you ever heard of BAU?" And I said, "Yeah, I've heard of BAU, but I didn't know BAU was there at Adelphi. I thought it was like in Hempstead or something like that, but it was at Adelphi University in Garden City." And he said, "Well, man, come on, let me take you upstairs and show it to you." And I walked upstairs in the UC. We took the elevator, and I went into BAU. And from then on, I was hooked. And Bill invited me to come and hang out at his show. And I went through the gauntlet like everybody else. I answered phones. I did running and uh, errands and did things to make the show work. And then I went there late night because Bill had the Mr. Bill show at 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. because the station shut off at 1 a.m. And I met the great night nurse, Amy Wachtel, who was on before Bill from 8 to 10. And then I met the Crow sisters, Alice and Alicia. And I had another young lady who eventually was reading news for me, known as the nurse. I can't think of her name at this moment. But from there, I met a group called Spectrum City, who there's a big story in the book about how that happened with Chuck. And Spectrum City, which was President Hank Shockley, Wizard KJEE, aka Keith Shockley, of course, Chuck. They weren't going to school, but they were participating, helping Bill with the show. And I met this other crazy guy that everybody couldn't stand at the time, but we all loved him because he would always bring up these tapes from all over the neighborhood. And I mean, we got stuff, but he was like the master of walking from place to place. And that was one MC DJ Flavor, aka Flavor Flav.
Wow.
And that's how that thing started. And that group got a chance to DJ on their Super Spectrum Mix Hour 1/2 on Saturdays. They invited me on to guest DJ with them with my group, The Concept. That would be T Money, Easy G Rockwell as DJs, and of course the one and only Rapper G.
And of course you guys, I mean, you guys are clearly taking over because you have like the foundation of hip hop history right there in front of you. And did you know how big all of you guys will become over the next few years doing the type of work that you were doing in college?
No, and then yes, because we were street DJs. We DJed in the street, but we tried to make what we did better than what we saw. I mean, we had greats like King Charles, Infinity Machine, the Disco Twins, in front of us, the DJ Hollywoods of the world. I mean, these are mobile DJs with these huge units, and we had some great ones in our town also, like the Maplewood Crew and Music Mind and Just Us. Yeah, we had those, but what was unique about what we did is we weren't just DJs; we were marketers, we were promoters. We went out and we were entrepreneurs. We rented the places. We sold the tickets. We got people, crowds and crowds of people to come check us out because we thought of DJing as something, a bigger platform than just DJing. So yeah, when we started doing that, we just saw BAU as another way to promote, another way to be visible, another way for exposure. So when I came on board with them, I was just fascinated with the fact that these are the guys I was listening to, and wow, look at this. This is crazy. I wanted to be a part of it. So being an entrepreneur and a hustler and a marketer for what I was doing, because again, I lived on one side of Nassau County. They lived, about 5-10 miles the other way in Roosevelt and in Roosevelt and what do you call it? Freeport and Hempstead and Uniondale. And they always thought we were Wild Wild Westbury was our reputation, and they were what they were because we were rivals, but then we came together and became this massive incubator unit, which to me was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. So once again, I got to thank that big button to smile, because if that didn't happen, I would have never met with so many great people that were up there and interviewed so many great folks. And that's all in the book, from Run DMC, the Beastie Boys, Africa Bambaataa, and DJ Red Alert, Chuck Chill Out. I mean, you name them, we brought them through. And a lot of people came up. Of course, my brother, Davey DMX and company. Even there's an interview from me on my show, The Operating Room, after Bill left, with KRS-One and Scott LaRock, before the late, great Scott LaRock was taken from us. Yeah, so BAU was this thing that no one could understand at the time, because we had two major radio stations, but they were only on the weekend. We encompassed them during the week and on the weekend the best we could.
Wow, and for most people that don't know, of course, about your group, Original Concept, you guys actually had an album that you released, straight from the basement of Cooley High, and the people
Yes.
in the group was T Money, uh,
Easy G Rockwell
yep, Rapper G, yep,
and
Easy.
Rapper G.
So, tell me about how it was to create like your first album, because a lot of people and throughout history they know that you were a host, you were a DJ and stuff like that. But I want to talk more about your musical history. Tell us about that first album and how you guys got your foot into that part when it comes to
Well,
music.
simple and plain, back to BAU. We did some promos for BAU. One was called Knowledge Me by the Most Dylan B-Boys, which is basically what became the Original Concept record, which was a station promo about all the shows we had on the station. The next one, Can You Feel It, was called It's Great to Be Here. And that was changed from It's Great to Be Here to become Can You Feel It when we went in the studio. Of course, our music influences were just what they were. We were doing these promos for BAU, but the big thing about it was um, group named Run DMC and Jam Master Jay heard all the stuff, and it was Jay who told me to bring it up and play it for Run's brother Russell, who Russell didn't understand anything about it, who sent me to Rick Rubin, who was part of Def Jam, and I was getting all the early Def Jam records from MCA and Brazute and the Beastie Boys and the LL Cool J's and the Tila Rock and Jazzy J. Yeah, so we had that connection. And so I always understood music. And when I first did Knowledge Me and Can You Feel It, I had an open reel to reel in my house and a cassette deck. So I just opened up the crap out of it. And my partner E Mac came and played the bass line on Knowledge Me. I had this little Casio keyboard. And I told him the bass line to play the boom, boom, ba boom. And he being a greater keyboard player than me, put a little jazz, a little funkiness on it. And T and I went and started doing yo, cuz, yo. I went down to the Hempstead terminal, man, and the guys came up to me. What were they kicking to you, man? They said, knowledge me, oh man. And people just thought that was hysterical. But that whole language and how we talk came from Wizard KG, Keith Shockley, and Butch Cassidy from Spectrum City. So my musical influences were everything. So now we got a chance to actually start making music. So when Rick said he wanted to sign us, I just didn't believe him. But that's a big story. You got to read in the book also. Yo, bigger stuff.
It's so much history to be unveiled. And we're talking, of course, you're giving these jewels and stuff, and this is gonna be in your book. Before we go further in the conversation, where can people buy your book and download it?
The book comes out in 2021, the spring of 2021. We were doing it this year, but this crazy little thing called COVID-19 made us put the brakes on and say, well, we don't want Dre out there signing autographs in a hazmat suit. So that wasn't a good idea. So we kind of pulled it back a little bit. And because of the overwhelming responses to an interview I did on Vlad TV and one I've done on Here and Now with Sandra Bookman on Channel 7, local out here in New York, and even, thank goodness for Mr. Smith, a.k.a. LL Cool J's Rock the Bells Radio on Channel 43, Sirius XM. I do a thing called a doctor's appointment now. And with all of that, the overwhelming response for everybody wanting to hear the book is based on those things and the blessing you're giving me now being able to talk about it.
Absolutely. And talking about the Def Jam, the early Def Jam days, um, one of the first people that you actually toured with was the Beastie Boys. How did that all come about? Were you guys friends before, or how did that whole concept come together?
Well, to be honest with you, the funny thing is I became really good friends with Rick Rubin for a while because Rick was from Long Beach, Long Island, and I knew him and I knew one of his other best friends. I used to record in his studio, Peter Cooper Schmidt, out in Long Beach. And Rick, as his duties were becoming more and more larger for Def Jam, as Def Jam signed a larger deal to Sony, or really at the time it was CBS, at the time, Columbia Records, he asked me if I could take over his DJing duties with the Beasties because he couldn't go out. So in meeting them, and they came by my house, and we had long chats, and I rehearsed with them. Um, said, well, let's try it out. So I went to a rehearsal for one of their performances, and they saw not only could I DJ, but I was pretty proficient on the one and twos, and they were very impressed, and that's how the whole thing started. But the interesting story is how original concept became original concept. I'll give you just a quick thing. Um, I was bugging Rick about releasing the songs that we had recorded. And he was like, yeah, it's coming out, but we got to get the deal done, Dre. And it's going to be one of the first singles that's going to come out. I'm like, yeah, but I hear there's this other group, the concept coming out, because the group was supposed to be the concept. And we had shirts, logos. I mean, this is what we did. We were like, driving everything we were doing, going to promote it, make sure it was going to hit. And then the concept came out. So I was arguing with Rick, and MCA was there, the late great MCA from the Beastie Boys. And I was like, what are we going to do? And MCA said, so why not just call yourself Original Concept? And T and I looked at each other, and I hated it. Because in my mind, I'm a businessman. I'm like, I made all these shirts. I can't go back now and start silk screening them and put the name on top. And they were like, yeah, that's a great name, Original Concept. I hate it. So I had to go back to stuff and redo logos and put in the word original on top of it. But that's how we became Original Concept.
Wow, that's a lot of work to sit there and do all that printing just so you have to go back. But
And you know what? It worked out for the best. What can I say?
indeed, indeed. And of course we just talk more about your role in Def Jam and everything else. What exactly was your role? Did you help to produce and put together some of the records there at Def Jam?
Let's say I was very influential in a lot of records that happened at Def Jam. Um, I will go deep as I can, but most of that is in the book. Uh, because of my unique style of production and the sound that I created, that 808 bass sound, which Chuck D credits me and says Dre's the originator of Miami bass and all that. Boom, my influence in music even lasts to this day. Knowledge Me is one of the most sampled songs in the history of hip hop, along with another song I wrote on the back of the tour bus with the Beastie Boys called Pump That Bass. And in doing those, I had a Dr. Rhythm 110. So I would always sketch out what I wanted to do. Then I would bring it into the studio and put it on the 808. And I remember when I was first doing Knowledge Me and Can You Feel It? I went to the thing and I clicked the bass thing up. They're like, whoa, whoa, dude, that's the frequency's too much. I said, no, it'll be great when you hear it on record. It's going to rumble. It's going to sound unique. And that's what happened with it. So, yeah, out of that, at the time, Run DMC was then starting to record an album called Raising Hell. And they said, Dre, why don't you do some music, do a beat for us, man. We would love to hear what you come up with. So I said, okay, let me think of something. So I got thrown in the studio with T, and I started really working on the DMX drum machine, which I had never touched the DMX. I saw Davey do something with it. I've seen people program stuff like I can watch, and once I get it, and I started working on this beat, doom da doom da doom 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 da doom da doom doom, because they wanted an anthem type song that would be in the vein of Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. And I was rubbing my chin. I kept trying to think, okay, what could it be? So I was going back and forth, coming up with some idea, thinking of something. I said, you know what? Do da do do da do da do. And then T started putting a little shaker on it, and it started getting the vibe. And when we played it, they just looked at me and they're like, yo, this is incredible. Yo, Dre, so where's the words? I said, what do you mean, where's the words? Yo, what's the words? What's the name of the song? I didn't write the words of the song. You said you just needed a beat. Could you write the words of the song? Okay, let me take the beat. Let me give me a day. Let me figure it out. So I took a copy of the beat. I went back home and we called rapper G. And I said, G, gotta write this song. It's gotta be called something. It's gotta be proud to be black or something like that. Can you do it? We only got today to do it. Do it. G went back home, took the beat, came over the house. I got something. You know I'm proud to be black, y'all, and that's a fact, y'all. And if it's mine, I'll take it back, y'all. It's like that.
Yeah.
What? And he just wrote it. So I was like, cool. So I told Rick we had it. He said, well, come on in. So we're in the studio, and then Rapper G just laid down, word for word. And they just went crazy. They said, yo, Dre, this is crazy. I said, cool. Can we fix it? He said, no, just like that. So not Jay, but D and Run walked in there because he wrote it like Run DMC would do it. So he wrote it in their style. And they just walked in and just blew it out. And we were like, whoa, wow, this is crazy. And the rest is history.
Wow, this is legendary. Just everybody that's on here, if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys follow him on his social media. And this is a legend on here. I just want y'all to make sure y'all are supporting our legends just in hip hop. Dr. Dre has been
You can
out here.
follow me on Dr. Dre 39, Doctor spelled out, at Instagram and at Twitter. Please, you got questions for me? You got suggestions? What we're talking about on the doctor's appointment? Please let me know. I'm there for you. And we've got a big surprise coming up because this Saturday, December 5th, is my birthday. Yes, my
Yes, happy
birthday.
birthday. Yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
yes, yes. Happy birthday.
So my lovely crew, Bernadette Floyd and Dawn Michelle, said we got to do something. And it's got to be fun for your birthday. So they went to TikTok and they opened up a Dr. Dre 39 account on TikTok, and we're doing the Dr. Dre Happy Birthday Song Challenge. Here, all you got to do is you can go on there and sing Happy Birthday to me. It's real cool. I mean, you could use 50 Cents Up in the Club. You can use Stevie Wonder's Happy Birthday, or you could use Marilyn Monroe singing to President John Kennedy, Happy Birthday, Dr. Dre. You could do that, whatever you want. We would love to have you participate in it. And a lot of it, we're just sending some awareness out for my GoFundMe page, which my family and friends put that together for me. It's Dr. Dre, The Fight Back on GoFundMe, and it's helping to pay for my post care after my amputation. But that's a whole nother story. That's in the book. You haven't asked that question yet. I just jumped ahead. But I just want to let everybody know, please go to Dr. Dre 39, DocTordre 39 at TikTok for the Dr. Dre Happy Birthday Challenge.
Happy birthday to you.
There you go.
Happy birthday to you.
We'll be looking at you.
Birthday. That's how it's gonna go,
We,
y'all. Make sure y'all join that challenge.
we will be looking forward to that.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna
Say
be
your name. Don't be shy, and come on and say that happy birthday because it's gonna be a lot of fun. I've been talking to people. There's people singing the Beatles song. Today is her birthday, but Dr. Dre's birthday. Who got that song? Because they were looking up birthday songs and they found like about 80, 90 songs. And I was like, what? So what songs did they choose? Let them choose whichever one they want. If you want to sing Rihanna's birthday cake song, feel free. Have fun with it. That's the whole point. Let's have a little fun.
most def. And then talking more about because we got a long journey. You've been in the industry for like 40 years. Like it's like you're a legend. Um, so you actually helped to birth like Public Enemy and bring them to Def Jam and set that up. How did that come together?
Once again, a WBAU incubated story. Basically, um, when I was DJing with the Beasties, we would do what I call like DJ tape battles. Like you bring your boombox and you play your tape, and I play my tape. But I would play all those songs in different groups that came from BAU. So we did this party one time, and it got broken up because the guy went tried to shoot it up and take the money and whole thing. And Chuck, being Chuck as reserved as Chuck is, people don't realize Chuck was more laid back, reserved. He was very quiet in college. But if you get Chuck riled, he put it down on the pad and give you something that you never had. Yes, he did. So he did this promo for BAU called Public Enemy Number One with Flavor, and we used to play it on BAU, and it was crazy. Everybody loved it. So when I was doing the tape battle one time, I played it, and everybody was like, "Yo, Dre, what is that? Who is Chucky D? Who is Chucky D?" And I told him, well, Chuck used to be with a group called Spectrum City who recorded a song called Lies and Check Out the Radio. But Chuck and them didn't want to do music anymore because they had a very bad experience recording and, royalties and all the other nonsense that goes along with it and making sure the records get played on the radio and not selling around. So I kept playing it, playing it, playing it. I went to say, yo, you need to play this for Rick. So Rick at the time was staying in NYU dorm because he was still in school. So I went to Rick's dorm like I normally do, knocked on the door. Russell was there sleeping on the futon. And Rick was there. And I said, yo, I heard about this thing. Yo, play for me, play for me. So I put it in the cassette deck. I queued it up and I started playing a Public Enemy. So I was going through the whole beginning. Yo, Chuck, yeah, yeah. Back and forth. Yo, what goes on, Chuck? What goes on? Well, boom. As soon as it went boom, Russell got up, walked over the cassette, popped it out, and threw it out the window. I said, yo, what's wrong with you? He said, yo, that'll never be a hit. That's just ridiculous. It's just noise. And then from then on, Rick was bugging me every day to get Chuck to sign their Def Jam.
And the rest was history after that. What convinced him to do?
There's more to it in the book, Yo Biggest Stuff. There's a lot more to it. It wasn't as easy as just getting it that way. And by that time, it was also at the time trying to convince Bill to Rick had offered Bill the job to be VP of Def Jam, and Bill wasn't sure he wanted to do it. So I had to coax him and said, Bill, I'm already signed to the label. And if we can get Chuck and him to sign, we'll be here. We'll be on Def Jam. Yo, we can do so much. We can actually make some of the dreams we want come true. And eventually, after his negotiating with Rick and Russell, he decided to do it. But all between that, trying to convince Chuck to do it, Chuck also, Bill, Hank, they all got together, and then they made the decision to want to do it. I can't go into that part of it, but that's how the whole Public Enemy thing to Def Jam kind of happened. Some people like Flavor say, oh, Mr. J played it for him. I said, no, I kind of played it because I was with the Beasties, and that's how it kind of started. And that's the story I'm sticking with.
Yeah. Now,
Not that Jay didn't do it, and I love Jay for it, but that's the story I'm sticking to.
and so of course we have the entire Def Jam story. We'll get back into that, but I really want to move forward in regards to how you went from, of course, radio hosting, you're doing Def Jam, and then this eventually leads to you being asked to do Yo MTV Raps, on MTV. How did that happen? How did that whole thing come together?
After leaving the Raising Hell tour, a gentleman who worked at MTV named Peter Darty saw me DJing at a loft party, for Jessica Rosenblum and Beaver, and I would do these parties all over the place in the city. And he saw me there, and did I just release? No, we just released. I just came back from tour from the original concept, Straight from the Basement of Cooley High album from Europe. And he came over to me and he said, "Hey man, have you seen Yo MTV Raps?" And I said, "Yeah, I did." Because the interesting thing about it was when the Def Jam tour came through the Nassau County to the Nassau Veterans Coliseum, I was on stage introducing Public Enemy with my Def Jam jacket on, and Run DMC and Jam Master Jay were hosting the pilot version. So when you saw it on television, I'm up on stage and I'm introducing Public Enemy. So it was kind of like a foreshadowing thing that kind of happened. And he asked me if I could come to his office. He wanted to talk to me about it. So I went to his office and we had a long conversation about it. He said, "So what do you think about Fab Five Freddy?" And I told him. And he said, "Well, what do you want to do?" I said, "I can produce some segments for it because for me," I said, "there's no way in hell I could do anything on MTV. First, I'm a big fat black man from from Newcastle, Long Island. I'm not the MTV type. I mean, you got Julie Brown, Martha Quinn, uh, and JJ Johnson, and all the other different VJs. I mean, these felt slender people, and here I am, this big black guy, going to come on there and do anything." So I went. We shot this segment for Fab Five's show in the barbershop. Peter took the tape back, and he asked me to come back in his office and talk. He said, "We're thinking about expanding Yo to a daily format. Would you be interested in hosting it?" I said, "Interested in hosting it?" Because we went to do the barbershop segment. The guy that we asked to come do the part didn't show up. So Peter was like, "Come on, Dre, let's go." So I hopped in the chair and I did it. Peter took the tape. So they saw me do that on screen, on camera. So I guess that's what made them think Dre should host the daily show of Yo MTV Raps today.
And in between there, of course, this is the part where you meet your co-host Ed Lover. How did they um how did that come together? Like how did he get added and everything else?
Well, honestly, when I went there to hear Peter's offer for me to host the show, he introduced me to his production assistant at the time, Ted Demi, because they'd been trying to do another show because Ted was the one producing the Yo MTV Raps thing with Fab Five Freddy. That's what he did with Peter, because Peter was the executive producer and Ted ended up becoming the producer. And it was his drive and his zealous of wanting and loving rap music that really pushed it forward. So he had me go down with Ted and do an audition tape. So I went down there and told him who I was. We laughed and made some jokes. So he said, "Okay, great. Go back to Peter and I'll give you a call." I said, "Cool, that's fine with me." So I went back and I started talking with Peter again. But when I came back and Ted came to get me the second time, I saw this tall, skinny guy with blonde hair in part of his hair with a Gumby who was there. And I said, "Oh boy, here we go. I lost it because I was too big." So we go into Ted's office and he sits Ed and I down and he says, "Hey, Dr. Dre, this is Ed Lover." I said, "I know who you are. I listen to your show, WBAU, the operating room." I said, "Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. I know about your music." "Yeah, yeah." And I had on my Def Jam jacket trying to be impressive. It was about 200 degrees outside. I'm wearing a wool jacket at MTV. So Ted said, "Would you guys mind doing something together? Let me see how you work together." So we just looked at each other and we just did some stuff off the cuff, and very improvisational. We saw these two Jamaican wigs hanging on Ted's coat rack, on a hat rack, and we put those on. We did this Jamaican thing, improvisation, which Ted loved it. Filmed it, grabbed the tape, ran down the hall, shook Ed's hand, and went back down to Peter's office. Ted came in and he said, "Can I talk to you?" He said, "Yeah." We went back and talked with Ed. He said, "You know what? I have an idea that I want to have you guys both host the Daily Show. Would you mind?" And I looked at him, Ted, and I was like, "Can I think about it for a minute?" He said, "Sure, sure, sure. Take your time, take your time." So I went back to Peter's office and I told him what Ted had asked me. And Peter said, "You got to read Your Bigger Stuff, Dr. Dre episodes, 1993 to 1995, and you can get the end of that story." I want to tell you, but I can't.
Like, so you got to make sure it is in the book. It's a lot of stories that you
uh,
have as being
yeah.
the host, and you guys you took off. Like, I mean, did you expect the show to have so much success that it has by the time the show actually ended?
No, we treated it like a summer job. Sometimes we'll be working, most times we won't. Ed was still a security guard at Jackson High School in Queens, and he always kept his job when we first started doing Yo MTV Raps because we never knew where it was going to go. We really didn't. So the blessing was the exposure. But the funny thing about it was we didn't realize how popular we were till Ed and I left New York, because in New York wasn't wired for cable like that. So we had a show called Video Music Box with Ralph McDaniels and Lionel Martin, which was huge in the tri-state area. I mean, they played the videos. We watched the videos, but it wasn't on cable. So you have to like have aluminum foil or stand with one leg up to make sure you got it in. But it was playing all the great songs at the time. And remember, at that time, there weren't a whole lot of rap videos.
Yeah, and you are technically like the staple when it comes to like MTV, because they weren't really playing like hip hop videos. So that's basically essentially what your show was for, was to really introduce the crossover audience to hip hop.
Well, we were just bringing rap music, and that's why I say rap music first, because everybody falls on the hip hop word. That was done strategically for marketing. It was rap music. That's why the show was called Yo MTV Raps. I say it's rap music and hip hop. Our job was to bring the culture and the music and just put it there. So Ed and I agreed from the time we started, we're not to change ourselves to fit MTV. We're to go on and be us on MTV. And that's what Ted allowed us to do. That's what Peter allowed us to do. And also the great executives that allowed us to be on the show. So we just took that little blessing and we just hoped it would work. And it did. It worked very well. It was the fact that the world was ready to see this. But remember, with MTV, we changed the households from Aerosmith to Public Enemy. We changed the posters on people's walls from Led Zeppelin to Two Live Crew. We changed, we started bringing forth this music that people heard on the weekends and in pockets, because there was other shows locally around the country, but it wasn't like MTV. You could appointment television at 3:30. You could watch your MTV Raps, and boom, you saw everything. And we were blessed. Remember, Run DMC was on MTV before Yo MTV Raps with Rockbox and King of Rock. They did break that ground, but it was Michael Jackson who broke the color barrier along with Prince and Eddie Grant and a few other folks. But Yo MTV Raps, one of the highest compliments I ever got. I was in Motown one day and I saw Stevie Wonder, and they introduced me to Stevie Wonder. I said, "Oh, Stevie Wonder, you don't know. It's just, I mean, wow, I'm in the presence of a genius. This is amazing." And he said, "You know what? I watch Yo MTV Raps every day too." And I looked and said, "Stevie really watched Yo MTV Raps?" And we just fell out laughing. But that was the immense influence of Yo MTV Raps. Eddie Murphy, Howard Stern, Arsenio Hall, Mel Gibson, John Amos. I mean, we had Bobby Brown at the height of Bobby Brown, where MTV couldn't get him on, but he came on Yo MTV Raps. Why? Because he saw us hanging out at the club the night before. And we had to take that next day and told Bobby, "Come on down, man, hang out." "Sure, I will." We never thought he was going to show up. And he did. And he stayed on for a whole week. Did the Ed Lover dance and everything. And then when MTV saw that, they were furious. And it's in Yo Biggest Stuff, the end of that story, too. The Dr. Dre episodes.
Uh,
I probably need to do another interview with you and do a part two, because I'm talking too
Absolutely,
much. If you'd like to,
absolutely.
we should do that, because there's so much more to talk about. And you know what? I really want to get to know you, so you can get on my show eventually, and I can interview you, because I've heard you've done some amazing things too.
Well, thank you. Like honestly, it's just an honor. Like you have so many different stories on here, and honestly, I'm looking forward to getting that book and reading the book, and then, once the book, because I want to interview you again to just talk more about the book, because you have like so many different stories out here, and most people don't understand is that you helped to propel some of like the biggest names that's out in hip hop right now, and
Oh,
you if you okay, like if, for instance, like you helped to propel the careers of NWA. Of course, we already talked about Public Enemy. It's a lot of people that you helped and really pushed their careers out there. Now, we I did do some research and I seen that. Of course, I always wonder like what was your relationship with the other Dr. Dre and stuff like that. Of course, you did interviews and stuff like that, but did you guys like really get to work together on a music end? When it comes to just the music industry aside of being a host.
We were trying to do something quite a few years back, not a few years back, while he still was in NWA. And after he left NWA and Ice Cube left NWA, I'd gone out to a couple of sessions with him and we were talking about it. He said, what do you think we should do? And is it going to make sense? And I said, well, let's hammer a thought out and do it. We were thinking about it. We wanted to do it. I didn't know. Who knows what it could have been? I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, we've hung out quite a bit. We spoke and we knew each other. And there's a couple of big stories in the book that talk about it.
So, some more information I had looked up too. I'm just gonna go through the list of people that came on your show. The first thing I want to talk about is James Brown coming on your show because you talked
Yes,
about
he did.
him earlier in the interview. So I want to know how you felt when you had that full circle moment in your career where you went from growing up listening to James Brown to the point like I'm exhausted in his music to you actually talking to the man, dancing with the man on your show. What was that experience like?
Coming full circle, I had known James Brown because he lived in St. Albans, Queens, near my grandmother. And you'd knock on James Brown's door and give away 45s and stuff like that. I watched James Brown perform at the Westbury Music Fair with my father, and my father held me up so I can watch James Brown perform. I had known James Brown most of my life, but knew of him. It's just I have a strange life. I know a lot of different celebrity people that when I was younger, then they all go, "I remember you. You were that fat little kid. Yeah, that was me. Now I'm bigger. Yeah, you're still bigger." But yeah, that was beyond a blessing. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine uh, in a presence of such greatness
Mhm.
and realizing this man has been that person that actually put me behind these turntables and got me to understand the soul and the funk. And this is a drum, this is a drum. And I was like, wow, James Brown. And we had a great show that day and a great time with him. And you know, you ever hear the expression, I wish I had 10 more minutes?
I never heard that expression before. We
I
did.
know I just made it up. I
Okay.
wish I had 10 more minutes to talk with him. And well, there's a lot of folks like that not only just came on the show, that watched what Ed and I did on that show and were very proud of what we did. And even my partner from Original Concept, T Money, was Yo Mailman on the show. When you go back to that and James Brown, you hold your breath because you don't want time to move. You want to sit there and just keep looking at it. But we're blessed. We have some DVDs and videos that we can actually always go back and enjoy.
And since you like a part of the culture, of course, as a TV host and everything else, I'm pretty sure that you would get wind of things that may have been controversial in regards to different celebrities and stuff like that, and have a little bit more insight on certain beefs. One of the beefs I wanted to know about would be MC Hammer and MC Search beef. What happened with that? Do you know?
I know of it. I understand it. Search was a purist. He still is. Love him to death. That's my brother. Search came through BAU also, believe it or not. And I remember when he got signed to Def Jam from the New Music Seminar. That was years ago. The thing was, people, and I, you know what, Ed knew Hammer better than I. And I remember meeting Hammer as the Holy Ghost rhymer at a convention called the Jack the Rapper convention one time, and never thought what he would do would ever take off because it was more very gospel and very pre-Kirk Franklin, should we say. But the one thing about Hammer, which I have to respect, he could entertain the hell out of you. He could dance his behind off, and he knew where you had Run DMC walking back and forth across the stage, or other performers do that, and people spend big money for that. Hammer wanted to entertain you. Search was in the purest form of what rap music was. Uh-uh. We don't sing and dance and for popcorn chicken. What we do is our words and our talent is on the words that come out our mouth and go through the mic and the beats we make in the studio. That's what it's about. So you had a conflict there just of this again, rap music, which was this, who's right, who's wrong. And after you look at the history of it all, they both were right. They both were right. And the thing about that beef was that was what the beef was about. Search and third base were purists. They worked hard to get there. They weren't just given a contract because they were cool or they were the white boys with the new flair. No, Search could get down. Search was amazing lyrically. Pete Nice, same thing. That's what they did. So when you see Hammer dancing across and jumping up and down, turn this mother out. But you go, wait a minute, that's cool. But even Fab Five Freddy on Yo MTV Rap said, this guy's blowing up. And he was in the dance studio with Hammer, with an unknown phenom in the same studio dancing. And that woman's name was Jennifer Lopez on Yo MTV Raps before she was huge.
Wow.
So again, everybody had an opinion, but everybody was right because that's the one beauty of rap music and hip hop. You create your fame, you create your celebrity doing what you do. And either people will accept it or they will not. And that's one question I want to talk about when we discuss my album, Straight from the Basement of Cooley High. Because there was a lot of opinions. Oh, it was this, oh, it was that. But when I tell the tale in the book and you get to understand it, at that time, I get people saying now, you were so far ahead of your time, Dre, with that. Why did you do that? I said, because that's what I do. And I gotta give blessings to my crew. You know, Easy G Rockwell, Rapper G, T Money, and of course my man Elliot Nobles, who did a lot of driving back and forth with us to the studio, and all the other folks that contributed to that album. You know what? We're blessed. That's what the music should really be about. You do what you do. People like it, great. They don't, go back in the studio, make something else. I mean, I can't imagine the Commodores and Earth, Wind, and Fire doing battle in a park because I'm singing Brick House, and then you came up with Shining Star, and I ain't trying to feel you on that. What? What? Yo, you singing Let's Groove. I don't want to hear that. Yo, what about that? What? We got reasons. What's reasons for 3 times a lady? What? What? So, when we talk about beefs in hip hop, the one thing about Yo, and I want to end on this because I got to jump, is Yo was a uniter. Yo MTV Raps, when you saw Yo MTV Raps in Compton, when you saw Yo MTV Raps in Houston, you saw Yo MTV Raps in Detroit, you saw Yo MTV Raps in Milwaukee, Colorado, um, Miami, Atlanta, New York. It was one show. And we didn't go, oh, from California, oh, from Miami, from this, that, that. It was Yo MTV Raps today. And the one thing about everybody respected it is you were on your video, your way. All we did is say, here they are. And that was the blessing that we were bestowed. And there's so much more to tell, but unfortunately, I do got to jump. And I want to thank you so much for having me on. And I know that we'll do it again, probably before the book and after the book, because
Okay.
I enjoy your company.
Thank you. And I
But I
appreciate
like,
you. I appreciate you coming on here. I appreciate you speaking with me on the show. It's so much to unveil, and I've done so much research on you that we have to do a
keep it,
part 2 of this. We have
keep it,
to.
keep it.
We have so much left. We have Hot 97. We have Power 105. We got your new show that's coming out. So before you get off, I need you to advertise yourself, and of course, tell me about of course, the Diabetes Foundation, all of that stuff before you get off the phone, because that's what you're here for. Advertise that.
Well, the thing is, there's a Dr. Dre Victory Foundation that we're putting together because I'm a triple threat. I'm a blind amputee and a diabetic, a type 2 diabetic. So I consider myself super bad, believe it or not. Um, the biggest thing I like to promote right now, because they're doing such a great job and pushing so hard for it, is my GoFundMe page. It's helping for my life at this moment, my family, and for taking care of these things. And there's a lot of opinions about it, but guess what? I'm never too shy or too arrogant that I can't say, hey, I need some help. Anybody on this planet always ask somebody for some help. You can go do that at Dr. Dre, The Fight Back on GoFundMe, please, if you can. And the other thing, it is my birthday this Saturday, and we would like you to check us out and sing a little birthday song to me on Dr. Dre 39 on TikTok. It's real
Hey,
simple. The Dr.
happy
Dre
birthday.
Happy Birthday Challenge, song challenge. You can sing any birthday song you like to me. Yeah, I'm being a little conceited. Yes, I am, because I'm blessed. And I would be thankful, honored, and I love you for doing that. And thank you so much for this. And if you want to reach me, Dr. Dre 39 Instagram, Dr. Dre 39 Twitter, DOCTORDRE. Don't put DRDRE because I don't know where that's gonna go. But Dr. Dre 39, you'll reach me. And thanks very much to Mr. Smith, LL Cool J, for the doctor's appointment on LL Cool J Radio, Channel 43 on Sirius XM. And like I said, I can't wait to talk to you part 2. Set it up. Thank you, and thank you. Love you. Namaste.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. And everybody that's out here right now, that is Dr. Dre, the original Dr. Dre out here doing it. Make sure you guys check out his brand new book that's coming out next year in 2021. Check out his brand new radio stations, like he said. And once again, happy birthday to you. Another blessed year to you. Everybody that's on here right now, if you're checking out the DJ J Erica podcast, make sure you follow us right now on all social medias at the DJ J Erica podcast, at DJ J Erica. We will be streaming this on the YouTube channel. I am DJ J Erica, and DJ J Erica podcast is available right now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and much, much more. We appreciate you, Dr. Dre, for coming on the show, and we will be doing that part 2. I promise that to the viewers. You got to come back, man. You got to come back.
I got to get you to do my promo stuff. You're incredible.
Oh, well, oh, wow. Thank you.
Yes, I'm going to get you to voice some of my. I'm going to call DJ Erica because she got a voice. Did you hear what she said about her stuff? Man, this is great. But thank you again. No, seriously.
Thank you.
We'll make this happen for you.
And I got to give a shout out to your manager, Bernadette. God bless you. Thank you. I know she's somewhere on the line. I thank you for setting this up. And I will be hitting you up for that part 2. And we're going to get the other stuff together too.
She's going to hit you back. Thank you.
All right. You be blessed. I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, I will.
All right. Bye-bye now.
Hold 1 second. Could you do me a favor?
Yep.
Could you send a copy of when you were singing the happy birthday thing? And I was promoting it for you, the happy birthday TikTok thing, because I want to put that on TikTok right now and let everybody know about this interview.
Oh, absolutely. I will get that done to you today, and I will have that right over to your manager. Thank you.
Send it right to Bernadette, and she'll get it done, and you'll get it chopped up. But thank you. I love you so much. Thank you.
Love you too. God bless you. All right. Talk to you soon.
Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.
DJ